of Concerned Citizens, broadcasting live from Group 19 Promotions out of Manning, South Carolina. As always, if you want to call in, we're not taking call-ins today, but you can contact us, 803-460-4532. We have a special guest with us on the show today. As I promised, she would be talking about her role as a victim's advocate in Manning, South Carolina. Would you introduce yourself?
I'm Yolanda Junious, and I'm with the Clarendon County Sheriff's Office.
She's with the Clarendon County Sheriff's Office, and she has a special story for us today. I wanted to first say that every story that we report on has something to do with the mental state of our youth. We always come from a youth perspective. We are a registered nonprofit organization in Manning, my wife, myself, and a partner, the Community of Concerned Citizens. So check out our YouTube page. Several of the broadcasts that are very, very relevant to what we're going through right now. The first one is Generation Rage, where we talk about the disrespectful nature of our children today. And the next one is incest. And when we did the incest report, what was shocking to me is a lot of people off of Sugar Hill, where we live, called in. And the only thing that I asked them to do is to not mention names, because we don't want to bring back that type of atmosphere, but we want to talk to those who were affected by the incest, and we got a lot of call-ins from those from Sugar Hill. The other broadcast is AIDS, the secret death. Again, on Sugar Hill and surrounding areas, we have a lot of people. We have a lot of close friends that have the HIV virus, and they don't want to come on camera, but we did a very good show. All of these are pertaining to the mind. We talked about the zombie nation and the addiction of our young people to marijuana and different drugs, and alcohol too, because we have a lot of young alcoholics. My brother died from alcoholism, my father did, so that's personal to me. And we made sure that still fighting genetic addiction to alcohol, even though I never drank it, I think about alcohol when I get stressed, so I can relate to people and what they go through with alcohol and substance abuse. The other thing we talked about with Ms. Kim R. Jackson is mental illness with her son, and we're going to do another broadcast on that. All of these are on our personal website, The 19 Report on YouTube. And Black Savage, the killing of young black boys, not only by the police, but by other black boys. That is the part we always forget about. We attack one, but we are afraid to attack the other. So we talked about that. And we talked about love, sex, and thought. How our young people think they're falling in love because they're having sex and it feels good. We're getting to a point with Miss Yolanda. We're coming right to it. And the last thing we talked about was homosexuality. Now that was a hard one because a lot of people came down on me real hard about it. But my wife and I have homosexual friends. We don't say it because we're not trying to make them like a martyr or a status symbol. We got homosexual friends. They're just our friends. We don't care what they are. But they talk to us about their situation. And I got to say that everybody ain't a homosexual. You may think you are, but you're not. And until you understand that and work through the mental part, now we're getting to Miss Yolanda and her tragic situation that by God's permission, she turned around into something great that can be used for our benefits. Now, I want you to take us into the time, and anywhere where you feel uncomfortable, just stop and we'll stop. But take us into what happened and why it happened. And the reason I wanted to talk about this so much, because we started last night, is because there are thousands of young girls being molested and raped and don't even know it. But it's messing up their minds. They can't hold relationships. They can't express themselves. They're running to drug abuse. So if you can just go right into how you talked to us last night about it.
All right. Well, it was several years ago, but somebody broke into my home, and I was raped. And I was telling them on last night, the issue with being raped, we keep it to ourselves. It's a secret because we're embarrassed. And a lot of times I tell people, I probably would have never told that I was raped had my daughter not been in the house, and I felt that I had to get her somewhere safe. But I was raped. A young man from this community, this area, broke into my home, and I was held at knife point for almost 2 hours, and I was raped. And the good thing is, when he talked about God, I had recently just received Christ as my Savior. Just recently. Maybe 2 or 3 months before this happened. And I was a month away from getting married.
Wow.
And this young man broke in my home. And I was held at knife point, tied up, raped. And the whole time I had 2 thoughts. My daughter coming in, catching this act going on, and being killed or hurt herself, and my parents. Less than a year, almost a year before that, we lost a brother. So I just felt like, oh God, they cannot lose another child.
Right.
But from the rape, it was one of the reasons I wanted to become a victim's advocate, because after I was raped, there was no help. I felt like there was nobody for me through the court system. Nobody understood. Even those who were trying to help didn't know how to help. I told them I recently got married a month and 2 days after that. Worst mistake ever.
Right.
What I should have done was postpone it, not do it. Because on one hand I had my husband saying, don't talk about it. But then I had other people saying, talk about it. So I'm caught in a web of what to do. But through the court system, I had nobody to ever call me, not an advocate, no concern. And when you are raped, it changes. It's trauma. It's almost like I hear my brothers talk about PTSD. It's trauma. It's trauma to this.
Right.
Not to my body. I'll tell anybody, I never tried to pretend that I was a virgin.
Right.
And I was physically hurt, other than some bruises that I had. But physically, I was not hurt. All of my hurt, all of my change came from within. And I didn't know how to deal with it. I went down a whole new road.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Whereas one time I was this free, lucky-go, yo-yo, had fun, just out there, had a boyfriend, a fiance. We had fun. All of a sudden, I wasn't that girl anymore.
Right.
So I got married, and no longer did I want to be touched. No longer did I want to have sexual intercourse. No longer did I want to hear about sex. I couldn't go in a grocery store without, if a man that fit the description of the man that raped me, because at the time he was still free. Even though we knew who he was, he was still free. He was running.
So you knew who it was?
And let me tell you, I never saw him because he woke me up.
Right.
But I felt like it was the Lord telling me the whole time. I kept hearing this name in my mind. And I believe it was because of his voice, because actually he was married into the family.
Wow.
He was married into our family, and his reason, what he actually said, which is another reason I knew it was him. He said he had gotten into some trouble with my brothers, and my dad stepped in and was like, no, because he's like my age.
Right.
And my dad was like, you had no business with them.
Right.
You were on parole. You had no business with them.
Right.
And his revenge, when he got out, he made a deal with them, with the police, to get out of jail. He helped them with some big drug deal.
Right, right.
So they released him, and he sat in a burnt house on the street behind my house.
Wow.
He evidently sat there for about 2 weeks trying to figure out how to get my family back. And in the midst of raping me, that's what he said. Because as we all know, on our license, it does not say Sugar Hill.
Right.
So he says to me, I'm tied, my face is tied, so I can't see him. But he says, I have your license. And I know where you live. You live on Sugar Hill.
Wow.
And if you tell anybody, I'm going to go to Sugar Hill and kill your family. And as he's talking, he kept saying, yeah, your daddy and your brothers and your dad. I think your brothers are so much. His sons are so much. The whole time I knew it was the Lord saying to me, this is who it is.
This is who it is.
And the Lord even came as far as to say to me, because I had a man next door, an older gentleman, and I thought he was nosy. Every time me and my daughter would go in, he'd be peeping through the blinds.
Right, right.
And I was like, God, this man is so nosy. But I realized later he wasn't being nosy. He saw a young girl. I was 24 at the time. He saw a young girl with a child in and out all time of night.
Right.
Because of the job that I worked at the time, because coming to visit family.
Right.
He was watching us go in and making sure that we got out safe.
Wow.
And that's what he was doing.
Wow.
Even that night, he watched me in.
Wow.
And he said that night he actually heard a noise, and he started to get up. He said, oh, it's probably just something under her carport. And he stayed laying. But the Lord let me know, not even my neighbor knew what was going on
Right.
with me. Nobody was there with me but him.
Wow.
And I felt like he brought me through it because in the midst of all of that, my face was tied. And you know, for me, I quickly went into, I was scared.
Mm-hmm.
And I know at first when I started saying something, I was crying. And he said to me, do not cry. He said, if you cry, I'm going to kill you.
Wow.
And I remember him reaching under the thing he had me tied up, my face tied. And it's like the Lord sucked the tears up
Mm-hmm.
because there were no more tears.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually went as far as telling him reasons why I needed to live.
Mm-hmm.
Because he told me his plan was to kill me.
Wow.
And I went into reasons why I needed to live.
Mm-hmm.
I told him I just gotten saved.
Mm-hmm.
My parents just lost a child.
Mhm.
I don't think they could lose another one.
Mm-hmm.
The whole time in my mind, the Lord was telling me who it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to play on his heartstrings as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew at that time it wasn't my thought,
Mhm.
but it was a thought of the Lord
Right.
to tell him all that stuff.
Right,
Because at the
right.
time I was out of my
Right.
complete
Right.
mind.
On last night, you mentioned how you just couldn't think
Yes,
clear.
could not.
Clear enough to do the things that
That's
you
right.
normally would know
Would've
how to
done,
do.
yes.
And most people feel a lot of guilt
Ooh.
when a situation, because I can't fathom
Mhm.
what it would be like,
No.
but most people feel a lot of guilt.
Yes.
And you talked about how the guilt overwhelmed you
Yes.
at a period. Could you
Right.
talk a little bit about
Yeah.
that mentally, how it
Yeah.
affected you?
It was just, you feel like you should have done something. What did I do wrong? You're shamed. Mostly you're so shamed because you got people saying she caused this on herself. And this is the funny thing. I had more women against me
Right.
than I did anybody else.
Right.
I had men coming to my rescue. I had men, when they would see me, they wouldn't come close to me, but they would be like, yo,
You
whatever
are right,
you need.
right,
But I had
right.
women telling other people she wasn't raped.
Mhm.
So now I'm living a life of shame, but with a mask on,
Mhm.
that I'm just fine.
Right.
And that's what we do so much. So when I got to a place that I felt like I could not take this anymore, by now I'm married, it's years down the road, I'm causing my daughter issues, but I'm walking around, everybody else is thinking, Yo-Yo
Everything
has
is all
done
right.
so great, she
Right.
bounced back so good. I was wearing such a beautiful mask, always smiling, always dressed, hair always right. I'm always speaking, talking, laughing, but on the inside, when I tell you I was literally dying, I was dying. And it finally came to that place where I felt like I could not be a good mother. Because as I told you on last night, I found out that in the midst of all of this just being crazy, when night fell, I became this little child.
Right.
Me and my probably 5 or 6 year old daughter at the time, we would switch roles.
Right.
And not even knowing to me that we were switching these roles, but I would literally, she said at night, turn into this baby. She would get up, take a gun, walk around the house, and check doors and windows, come back, put her mother's head in her lap, and say, Mama, the bad man won't come back tonight. We're safe. You know what I'm saying? And I got to a place, I just felt like enough was enough. I
Right.
could not be a mother to her. And let me tell you, I keep telling, I can't tell my story without continuously bringing God in.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what this show is
Yeah,
about.
do
It's
it.
about the God factor.
Yes.
And
Yes.
everything. That's where we come from because people try to fix it on their
Yes,
own.
you can't.
And you can kind of get a start,
Yes.
and you can go get help from people who can help you
Yes,
along.
yes.
And in many cases, as we talked about, medication helps.
Yes.
But God is the key factor
Yes.
to it all.
To all.
And I want the young people to really understand that.
Yeah.
When you call on God,
That's right.
He directs you to the people.
Right.
So I want you to go into a little bit
Yes.
of what you talked about last night, how
Yes.
you would gotten so tense from a
Yes.
lack of sleep,
Yes.
and how He brought the right people
Right.
in your life to help you.
And I was telling them, I really, when I look back at it, I probably did not sleep at night for almost 4 years without medication.
Right.
And it was somebody giving me, the doctors giving me something to try to help me to rest. But I had gotten to a place where I actually thought I had a stroke because I had went so long without sleeping. At night, scared. So couldn't sleep. In the daytime, I got to get up and pretend I'm so scared I can't even stay in the house. I'm at my daughter's school because I'm trying to live a life of normalcy.
Right.
So everybody thought I was there just really trying to be this good parent, want to be a volunteer at the school, and that wasn't it. I couldn't sleep at night because I was afraid of the dark.
Right.
I couldn't go any place by myself because I was afraid of the dark. I was afraid of black men that were dirty, like construction workers, because he was filthy from living in an abandoned, smoked house. He was filthy. Okay, and so it was going and going with no sleep. And you know, when you go with so long with no sleep, that plays even more on your mind. I was literally crazy. And I just got to a place where I thought I'd had a stroke. I called my mother and I said, I think I've had a stroke. And as a matter of fact, it was on my dad's birthday.
Wow.
Because we were supposed to do a surprise dinner for him at my house. And it was on his birthday. And when she came, one of my hands was like this, my leg was drawn, my face was twisted. She took me to, I always tell people he was my angel. Dr. Edward Keith at the time. My father took me there, and Dr. Keith said all my nerves, I was having a nervous breakdown. And he said all my nerves was like at the top. And he gave me some medicine. He gave my mother medicine and sent me home. But what he did after he got me sort of straight with the medicine, he sent me to a psychiatrist. She don't have many licenses, degrees, but she's a psychiatrist because first of all, she's anointed and appointed by God. Second of all, she went through rape, incest, molestation as a child. So first of all, you got to be careful who you go to. Because I was telling them last night, I went to one in Sumter, South Carolina, that the beauty school where I was going to, the lady took me there because I had an episode at the school. And she took me, and for an hour, she talked about her hair being dry, her hair, never about me. So, but I went to her, and through God, when I tell you, that's when my healing began. When I met this woman, I will tell you this, the first thing she said to me in our session, she looked at me and she was sitting on one side of the desk, and I'm sitting on the other. She looked at me and she said, she let me tell what happened. And then she said, okay, she said, I got a question for you. I said, what's that? She said, why not you? She said, what's so special about you? Should have been the lady down the street, and when I knew anything, I jumped up and I reached across the table to snatch her. And she threw her chair back, and she looked at me, she said, yo, I'm just trying to ask you. She said, don't you know God don't put no more than you can bear? And that's when I really believe my healing started to begin. But I'll tell people this, when this young man got caught, we think once we go through the system, and he was given life plus 30 years. Okay? I thought that was the cure-all. Because here it is again, I'm trying to fix myself. I'm thinking, this is my cure-all. He's locked up. I'm no longer in danger. That was when the downfall started. That's when I almost took my life. That was the downfall, because now, even though he's locked up, everything is still on me.
You still feel it.
I'm still feeling this. I tell people all the time, people being locked up does not mean you need to let life go, because what it does, it turns you. I tell people I had such a support system. I didn't turn to drugs. I didn't turn to alcohol. I didn't turn to selling my body. I didn't turn to those things because I had such a support, and I knew Christ. Because I believe if this had happened to me when I was in the world, I would have, because I used to drink avidly. I used to drive and drink all the time. I used to love E&J, Easy Jesus,
Easy.
That's what we used to call it.
I love the honesty,
E&J, And I know if I was not saved, I would have been in a bottle somewhere. I know I would have. But because I have Christ in my life, I walk up on young people and I tell them all the time, I have how many brothers younger than me? 4. And at one point, none of them was claiming salvation. And I said to them, you don't have to be saved to call on Jesus. I told them, when you don't know what to do, you out here in this world.
That's the time.
Just call on Jesus.
That's the time.
And I said, eventually, if you call on him long enough, it's going to stop coming from here, and it's going to come from here.
Exactly.
And he ain't no mean God like churches have painted him out to be. He is the sweetest thing. Because I tell
merciful.
You, he's so merciful. Because if he did to us what we deserve, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here.
That's right.
You wouldn't be here.
That's right.
But
that's right.
I just want people to get from my message, get the help. Please don't shut your mouth on it, because the more you shut your mouth on it, the more damage. And this is a trick of the enemy, because I was going to take my life thinking this was the best thing for my daughter and for my family. because I felt like I was not being a good mother.
Right.
Because I had all this drama. My marriage was in an uproar because I had all of this drama.
Now I want you to, if you can, talk a little bit about, you talked about last night your marriage at the time.
Yes.
And how you learned to forgive your husband
Yes.
over anger because
Yes.
at the time he was trying to help,
Oh, yes.
you pushed him away.
Yes.
But when you were trying to get it together,
Right.
it was already damage
Exactly.
done.
Yes.
Now there are a lot of situations where I honestly believe they're young people. I don't think they know what rape really is, most of them, because they've given their body away
So
at such an early age
That's
so
right.
often.
Exactly.
They just take it as one of those
Right.
things.
Exactly.
But it's damaging them mentally
Yes, it
and
is.
spiritually.
Yes, it is. That's why they keep giving it.
That's why they keep giving
That's
it away,
right.
right? Like you're saying, they're trying to
That's
hide,
right.
they're trying to
Exactly.
bury themselves
Exactly.
in that. So when you talk about your husband in the situation, how do you think, what happened first of all? How did it play itself out? But how do you think you could have made it better? Being that, you were
Right.
raped and you felt like he didn't understand.
Right.
And
Right.
maybe he didn't understand, but he was
He was doing the
trying
best
to,
he could.
right, to
To
understand.
understand.
Right. So what could have been done?
I think from the beginning, I really believe we should have postponed the wedding. Okay, but since we didn't go down that road, then I believe what we should have done, I shouldn't have gotten counseling, just me. I think we should have gotten counseling early
Okay.
on so we could have help, so he could understand.
Okay.
Because even though, and I'll tell anybody, I know how much he loved me.
Right.
I never
Right.
I never doubted his love for me.
Right.
But when you have people in the public saying she probably got caught with somebody, even though he know he didn't catch me with nobody,
Right. Right.
he know that.
But the public opinion.
But the public's opinion.
Right.
But as a man, and I tell anybody, we're all different. Men and women, we're completely different.
Right.
So for him, it was hard going places. Here, yeah, that's the guy that his wife was the one
Right.
raped. Say she was raped.
Right.
Okay, so
Right.
then you come home to a woman that one time you could touch freely. Now when you touch her, she's drawing up. She's crying when we have to make love. I'm in the bed like this crying. It's hard for him because I know later I realized he felt that he did not protect me.
Right.
He felt as a failure.
Right.
And then there was a part of him that was angry with me
Right.
for not fighting back.
Right.
He
Right.
felt like I just let this man have
Right.
his way with me.
Right.
And at the time, I think I told y'all it was a hammer
Right.
under my bed, and I never once remembered that hammer. It was what I call a secret compartment. I never thought about that hammer being there until I heard some officers say, "Wonder why Yo-Yo did not get that hammer and fight." That's when I
But
remember.
what was
that
your
hammer.
mind? What was going through your mind? Like
Just-
you talked and you said that you kind of just blacked out with
Yes.
the situation, so
Yes.
you couldn't. You thought about survival. You thought
Right.
about your daughter.
Right.
And you thought about living because you were
That was
thinking
it.
about your parents.
Right, exactly.
But I didn't hear you say you were thinking about you.
Not one time. It never, and that's the honest truth. My only thought, my concern was, will he kill me and leave me in this house for my child to walk in here and find? That was my concern. Will she walk in here and see a bloody mess and have to live with this the rest of her life? Will my parents come in, my mom and dad walk in here, or my siblings find me? I never once thought about me. And that's the funny thing. All I could think about was my daughter and my parents. I could not think about, it was nothing to think about me.
But see, when you said that last night, I always, by God's permission, 1,000 things go through my mind. But when I see our young people, I see them as not seeing themselves as important.
Right.
So they're always talking about all these friends that they have. And I'll do for this one before I do for myself.
Right.
I'll do. So they don't even have a love,
Right.
internal love for themselves.
For themselves.
So that is a danger in itself because they won't even call out
That's right.
to the God we're talking about to help them.
That's right.
Because they don't feel like they
don't feel-
deserve.
That's right.
You
Exactly.
understand what I'm
That's
saying?
exactly
So when
right.
you were talking last night, all of these things were going through my mind, and I said, people go through things that are strong enough to go through things.
That's right.
It may seem like you're not strong
Right.
enough at the time, but like you said, God is carrying you.
Yes, He is.
Now, my mother, around 1975, I remember being asleep in the bed in Rocktown in King Street. She was raped. She went to the store one night and two men picked her up, carried her past the house. She was trying to hit on the porch so somebody could hear her, and I thought I heard something, but I wasn't sure. And they took her down into the woods, I didn't know what rape was then.
Right. Exactly.
And I'm going to be totally God's honest with you. It didn't come clear to me until last night talking to you.
Wow.
They brought her home, and I know her leg was broken. So that's all I thought that happened.
Exactly.
They broke her leg.
Exactly.
A few days later, again, she knew who the men were. I'm about 7 or 8, maybe, I'm not sure, but a guy comes up to me and said, I didn't want to do to your mama what I did last night. That man said he would cut my throat if I did. I'm like, what is he talking about? What did he do?
Right.
And I remember my mother saying, get from around him. Don't talk to him.
Right.
But she went through that.
Yes.
Like you went through. Now, psychologically, during that time, there was no one there to talk to.
Nope. You were blamed
1998, she's living in Manning Garden Apartments. She decides to come out of the house because she was a recluse. She stayed inside.
Right, yes she did. I remember that.
And she walked to Minuteman Market. And it just so happens, Yolanda, on her way home, somebody was walking behind her. She dropped every single thing she had, fell to the ground like she was in submission. And she called and told me about it, and I got angry with her. What's wrong with you?
Exactly.
But I never understood it until last night when you told your situation.
Exactly.
So I had to get you here to talk about your position as a victim's advocate. And I want you to tell them a little bit about what you do as a victim's advocate, because you clarify things and you help people understand that you may have put yourself in a position, but it's not your fault.
It's not your fault.
Right.
It never is.
Right, right. So talk about that a little bit, about what you do in the courts.
As a victim advocate, we assist victims, which means a victim of crime. Rape is a crime. If someone breaks in your home and you're beat up, that's a crime. We assist you to try to get you back to some state of normalcy. We try to get you back even in here, which means we can get you in counseling. There's the State Office of Victims Assistance in Columbia, where they try to get you even back, helping you with, even with financially, anything that you're spending, right? They'll try to help you. It's not that they're going to always pay for all of it. Every case is case by case. But we go to court with you. We try to help you understand what's going on in court. Because when I went to court, nobody told me anything. Right. Nobody told me absolutely nothing. Nobody waited for me to have family or somebody there with me. Because I don't care if it's, like you said, your mother, that happened to your mother in 70-something. Here it is, 1998. You're talking 24, 25 years.
Still affected by it.
She's complete. And the reason for that, even that far back in the 70s, if she had went and said, they put women back then on stand, on block. But what were you doing out there time of night?
That time of night.
What were you this? So even today, even though we don't verbally say that, I still see that when I'm in court with these women. When I'm assisting these women, well, it's probably something I did. Well, you know, I club all the time.
Like they're to blame.
Right. Well, you know, I drink. And I probably wasn't dressed right. But I really don't care. I don't care if you're walking the street naked. I have a saying that I tell people, I don't care if you are a prostitute and you sell your body.
You sell it.
That's right. And if you sell your body from 11 in the morning to 12 o'clock at night, and at 12:01 you say, I'm off duty, and he comes up and throw money at you, and you still say no, you are a raped victim. You're not a prostitute that's working extra hours. You are a raped victim. And we have to know this for ourselves. As women, I tell people, I don't care if we're wearing potato sacks. You got some men gonna see through them potato sacks, and they still, in their mind, they see what they want to see.
Exactly.
So we can't blame it on what we have on. We can't blame it. Yeah, sometimes we put ourselves in dangerous situations. But still, if anybody come up and violate your body, that's still their fault. It is still their fault.
It's still their fault.
Right, and we have to learn to let the blame lay there and take our mask off and be real and get help. Because what happens is, when we don't get help, it affects the people behind us. I told them last night,
that's what I want you to
even though my daughter did not see this, she saw the after effect of her mother running out of a house, thinking she's running for miles, and actually was right across the street. And she saw me go into a complete frenzy. I wasn't speaking English. I could not talk. But my neighbor said, because of the things I was doing, what I was acting out, she knew I had been raped. So what I'm telling you is, if you may think that you have come so far, I'm living a life. You're not.
Right.
In here, just like his mother, all those years later, she still she was living in fear all the time. That's why she always lived inside. Because that's where she felt safe. Had I not had Dr. Edward Keith had not stepped up to the plate and said, this girl needs help. Because I was wearing a mask. My family had done all they could do. My husband, even in his own way, he said, don't talk about it. You know, he wanted us to go back to being yo-yo.
Right. Like it never happened.
That's right, like it never happened.
Right.
And I tried that. And that's what we do. We try to be normal. We try, because we don't want to let people that we love down.
Right. Exactly.
And I think sometimes that's why we don't think about ourselves. We feel so guilty of what, like he used to say, you let this man do this to you.
Right.
I did not let him.
I didn't let him do it.
I just didn't know at the time what to do. And I said one time, and I still don't know whether I would have done it or not. I said, I think if I was in the house by myself, I would have fought this man back.
But you don't know that for sure.
I don't know that for sure because we honestly don't know.
You don't know.
When I tell you I was traumatized, the little bit of thinking that was done, that's why I believe after I knew I was someplace safe, when I was at my neighbor's house, and I knew I think that's why I lost it. Right. When I say lost it, I have like, when they put me in the hospital, you know, they had EMS there and they took me to the hospital, I have like what I call an out-of-body experience because I saw what was going on around me, but I understand that completely. I understand that completely. I was not there. So I keep telling people, you have to deal with it. It is, and I'm going to tell you, you cannot expect to get over it overnight. It took me years. That's why my marriage didn't last. Because when I was, after I had been, I thought I was on, I knew I was on the road to recovery, but I had pushed him away so many times. Right. I mean, to the point that he was out there. He was just out. And then when I wanted him to come back in, and I wanted to be that wife, he tried. But by now, he also has a heart for somebody else outside. Right. And for a long time, I hated him. I thought, you're the reason. But then later, God again let me know. He showed me my side, what I had done wrong. Even though I know the Lord knew this whole thing started because of a rape. But yet and still, I still had an obligation. I took a vow as a wife. I still had an obligation to him. Right. And he did not understand. And I know that even today, I know he loves me today to a certain degree. Right. Okay? Right. But I still today know that he blames as well the rape for a lot of our issues. And
I would think that as a male, I would do the same. I would feel so guilty. It would be difficult for me to face my wife. Right. Even though I wasn't there, I would be thinking I should have been there. Right. Even though we know God doesn't make mistakes. That's right. None. But my admiration of you in the situation is that you took a high road. And taking that high road, you're going to help so many people in the long run. Because it's not just females. No. I had a gentleman to call me on one of the shows that I did and told me he was raped in the locker room at Manning High School. And he liked it. And that changed him from being a male to thinking about being... Now, everybody looking at him would say he just a faggot. Excuse my language. I don't want me to use those disparaging words. But that's how they're going to think.
That's how they judge.
They don't know the whole picture.
Exactly, they don't.
You know, parents don't know.
That's right, exactly.
You embarrassing us.
Exactly.
And so he's carrying that weight.
Exactly.
You understand? So but he is a rape victim.
And you know how many, even in men, I know for a fact, just in working and when all the counseling and stuff that I went through, you have young boys, little boys, that were raped and molested as little boys. And it turned them around. And because you being raped and molested by older people, so you think, and they're telling you, don't tell nobody.
Don't tell,
I love you.
And you want that attention.
And you want that attention. I tell anybody, everybody wants love.
Everybody wants
Everybody. I don't care how hard you are.
Oh, think you are. Right.
You want to be loved.
Yes.
You want to be accepted.
Yes.
Everybody want to be a part of
That's
somebody
right.
else.
That's right.
Nobody wants to be by themselves.
That's right. That's
I don't
right.
care
That's
how
not
much
even
we
natural.
say. It's
Right.
not. We were created to be together.
That's
we were
right.
created to love.
Right.
But what I'm telling you is, a lot of these young men, when you see them, they pretend.
Right.
I just love being this
Right,
way.
but that's
they do not.
They're battling here.
They do not.
Right.
It's a young man that I talk to quite often, and I would tell him, real women don't wear clothes like that.
Right.
Real women don't do all of that swaying.
Right.
and
That's
switching.
extra.
That's
Right.
extra.
Right.
I said, and the reason it bothers you when people say things, I said, because you're not even comfortable, because that's not who God made you.
Right.
But something happened to him as a child.
Right.
And he finally confided in me
Wow.
and told me as a child what
This
happened
is what
to
happened.
him.
Right.
So after that, and nobody listened. Nobody listened when he said, Uncle so-and-so did this to me. Nobody listened. Your uncle would not do that to you. And then the uncle sitting there, all I've been trying to do is be a daddy to him. I love him. And after nobody else paid attention, that's the only one giving you that attention.
Right.
What
right.
do you do?
What
After
do you
a while, you fall into that.
Right.
I know a young lady, the same young man that raped me, right? He raped another young lady.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
He did it before.
He did it before. And this young lady was a friend of a friend of his that he hung with. As a matter of fact, that day, he had been to their house all that day. So this lets me know in his mind, he had
something
that anyway. Something was there.
Right.
And even before he married my cousin, there was something about him. I said to her, don't like him. I don't think he's a bad guy, but it was something there.
You didn't pick it out, but you knew it was something.
I knew it was something there. But he raped another young lady. This young lady, she was young. She did not have Christ in her life. And even though I know her mother tried to help, her brother tried to help, but she did not have a support system.
Right.
She finally left, man, and the last I heard, she was drinking, she was on drugs. The last I heard, she was an AIDS victim.
Destroyed.
Because she didn't, nobody was there to help her.
Right.
She ran from it.
Right.
That's why I say, if according to your support system,
right.
Okay? My biggest support system was God.
Right.
I had recently gotten saved.
Right.
My second support system was my family.
Right.
When I tell you they were a support system,
they were there.
My brothers, the night that I came home from the hospital now, this is what they told me because, like I said, but my dad said they sat up on the roof of our house with guns.
Wow.
One of them sat at the door of the bedroom that I was in with a gun. And all of that was to make me feel safe.
Right.
So see, I had such a support system.
Right.
Till even when I wanted to just give completely up, this support system, even when I wrote those letters and said I was going to commit suicide, and I was telling them why, I left this letter for Toy, and I left a letter for my mom. And the day that I was actually going to do this, let me tell you, I know God had, I was raped for a reason. Okay? So the day that I was going to do this, my letters were written. Okay? I called my sister. I said, can you pick up Toy from school?
Your mind was set.
My mind was set. I was tired of being in pain, pretending I was okay. Like I said, by now, he's in prison. Okay? Life is going on. I've gotten good counseling.
Right.
But yet and still, I'm
still
struggling.
There. Right.
I'm still struggling.
Right.
But I'm wearing such a mask.
Right.
Okay? So now, that particular day, I have the gun out. All of a sudden, my telephone rings. And I will call her name because I know she does not care. Mayor Julia Nelson.
Wow.
She calls me. She said, you're on my mind. Yo, what's going on? I said, not a thing. And I'm talking like I am on top of the world.
Right.
Girl around here chilling, cleaning the house, yeah. Gonna pick up Toy in a little while. She said, yo, you sure you okay? She said, 'cause I can't get you off my mind. I'm fine.
Wow.
She hung up the phone. Now, she could have let it stop there. She didn't. She called an officer friend of ours and said, something is going on with Yo-Yo. Please go to that house.
Wow.
Here he comes. All I hear is him coming up in the driveway and he's tearing my door up. I took the gun and I stuck it what I thought was under my chair. He comes in and he's like, what's going on in here? I said, nothing. What's going on with you? And he started telling me, Julia says, boy, I'm great. I'm getting ready to pick up Toy. But she said you was cooking. I don't see no pots on the stove.
Wow.
because I got to buy some things. I'm making up
all these excuses, right?
But he would not leave.
Mm-hmm.
He calls us, my sister, and says, "I need somebody to come here. Something's going on with you."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking I'm looking great.
Yeah, everything's
smiling,
normal, right?
Everything. But here comes my sister, Regina.
Mm-hmm.
She stays with me. She says, "I'm going to a church tonight. I want you to come and go."
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't want to go to church.
Mm-hmm.
But she wouldn't leave. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, the same way there's God,
Mm-hmm.
there's the devil.
Right.
And the inside, he says, "Shoot, go to church tonight. You can do this here tomorrow.
Wow.
You'll be home by yourself tomorrow.
Right, right.
Go to church."
Mm-hmm.
So I go to church with her. I take Toy with me.
Mm-hmm.
She sits all the way to the front.
Mm-hmm.
I sit all the way to the back.
Mm-hmm.
Because I really don't want him.
Right.
I have
You're
made
done.
a decision.
Right.
I'm
That's
done.
it.
My daughter will be much better off. She's young. She'll
Mm-hmm.
forget about me in a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting back there. This pastor, he was from Detroit, Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
would come down here. And we're sitting there, and he's praying for people. And my sister turns around from the front, and she looks at me. She said, "Go for prayer." And I'm like, "No."
Mm-hmm.
She said, "Tell him about the..." Because I was having chest pains, anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So it was stress.
Right.
But I would have these chest pains.
Right.
She's like, "Just tell him about that."
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, "Let me go ahead and do this, because she's not
Just
going to
shut her
leave me
up.
alone."
Right, right.
So I grabbed Toy by the hand,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, he not going to do anything to me.
Right.
I grabbed Toy by the hand. Everybody else that went up there with their kids,
Mm-hmm.
he let them hold hands and he prayed for them.
Mm-hmm.
We got up there, we got in the line, and we're in this line, and we got to him. The lady that was helping him took Toy's hand out of my hand
Wow.
and took her to him, and he prayed for her. And
Mm-hmm.
he prayed that God would give her peace
Mm-hmm.
and comfort
Mm-hmm.
and joy again.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget this.
Mm-hmm.
She goes to my sister,
Mm-hmm.
and he comes to me, and so everybody leans over and tell him what they want to be prayed for.
Right.
So I went to lean over to tell him I have anxiety, I have chest pain.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to do that, he leaned into me and grabbed my head. He said, "So you really think you helping your daughter and your family by doing this?"
Are you kidding me?
This man literally read bits and pieces of my letter that I know nobody,
Mm-hmm.
when I say nobody,
Mm-hmm.
knew anything about.
Right.
He read things that I said. He said, "So this is better,
Mhm.
because she'll forget."
Mm-hmm.
These are the things he said to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in complete shock.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said to me, he said, "The Lord said, if you will praise him right now,
Mm-hmm.
he'll heal you right now. You will sleep again. And it won't be with medication. It won't be because you're just dead, beat, tired. But you will lay down and sleep again. Your life will be normal.
Mm-hmm.
Your life will go back."
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't do it. I didn't know what that man was talking about.
Wow.
He said, "I know I'm not crazy."
Mm-hmm.
I did not. He prayed for me. I went back to my seat.
So you were solidly, I'm done.
Oh yeah.
That's it.
I was gonna commit the suicide and let the chips. I just felt like my family, my husband, my daughter, my parents, my siblings would be better off. That was a trick of the enemy,
Mm-hmm.
because my rape was for
A reason. Right. So you mentioned earlier about, because a lot of people, and this is what angers me, a lot of people get upset with me when I start talking about the Bible, but I get angry with people for using cliches and not reading the whole.
Right, the whole thing.
That's what bothers
That's
me.
right.
So a lot of people say, let go and let God. And we did a commentary on that for the young people. Read the whole thing first.
Right.
Yes, let go and let God, but there is a process to
Right.
it.
You still got something to do.
You still got something
Right,
to do.
exactly.
And most of the time, people just think, oh, if I go to church this day
That's right.
and I shout about it this day,
Exactly.
tomorrow
That's
I'm going
right.
to be fine.
I'll be fine.
And the people around you think that too.
That's right.
Oh, she got saved yesterday, she's
Yeah,
fine.
That's right, exactly.
And they're still
That's
going
right.
through
That's right.
all of this stuff.
That's right.
I don't know how you can elaborate on that, because you said you were saved,
Yes.
before this happened, right?
I was saved before this.
And you knew that God was real.
Yes,
You already knew
That's
that.
right. That's right. No doubt.
But you can be brokenhearted by wondering. Because what I tell a lot of people, even Jesus on the cross asked God,
That's
why
right.
did you forsake me?
Exactly. Right.
Now this is a man
That's
that's
right.
right there
Exactly.
in there.
That's right.
But he wanted to know, what is this all about?
Right, exactly. Yes,
You understand what I'm
yes,
saying?
It is.
We have to be that
That's
same way, to ask questions.
That's right.
Intelligent
That's
questions.
right, exactly. And respectfully.
And respectfully.
That's
And
right.
move the ego out of the
Exactly.
way.
That's right.
And let the
Exactly.
process
Exactly.
take place.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Now you did that.
That's right.
But how did you do that? What? Because you're saying you're fighting with this preacher
Right.
who knows.
That's right.
That's your first warning.
That's right.
And I like
That's
to tell
right.
people,
That's right.
just
Exactly.
one thing. There were these, and you may have heard of these 3 men in the ocean. They both capsized.
Uh-huh.
They prayed to God for help.
That's right.
A boat came. They said, no thank you. We waiting on God.
That's right.
Another boat come. Nah, man, God got us.
Exactly.
But before long, they
That's
died.
right. Exactly.
And they wondered, why God didn't help us? But he helped you
That's
3
right.
times.
He sent the help.
Right.
You did not accept
So they are
it.
looking for the supernatural
Right. Exactly.
thing.
Something to come and go.
Boom.
That's
right.
It don't
When
work that
people
way.
are right here.
Yeah,
Medication
that's
is right,
right.
there.
Exactly.
Counseling is right there.
Doctors.
The process.
That's right.
Talk a little bit about
Exactly.
how it kind of, brought you back.
Let me tell you something. It's funny that you just gave that example because just today, me and my husband stopped to a restaurant to get something to eat, and a man gave us this example about. But the only thing he used was a flood, and a man was sitting on top of his house.
Right.
But a boat came,
Right.
a bigger boat,
Right.
a helicopter.
Right.
And
He don't
then
want
when he
none
got
of
to
it.
heaven, he was like, "Well, Jesus," he said, "I sent you all the help. You just wouldn't accept it."
just wouldn't
so
accept it.
I tell people all the time, I did. At first, I went. The hospital sent me to mental health for counseling. I did that. Okay, but and then I went to. My parents took me to Edward Keith. Okay, Edward Keith sent me to Matilda Hampton, Miss Tilly, love her. Okay, did all of that. I was still doing what I was still trusting God, but not so much. Because I tell people this is easy for me to trust God what He gonna do for you.
You, right.
Okay?
I mean, and you really believe
That's
it.
right.
He gonna do this
That's
for
right,
you.
for you. If
right.
I tell you,
But
Keith, I know God
got
can
you.
do this. He got you. I believe that for you. I can walk
Right.
out of here shouting and praising the Lord.
it's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen. But when it comes to ourselves,
Skeptical.
because you know why? Because for one, we're in the flesh.
Right.
For one, the devil will bring up little things.
Right.
Why would God do that for you?
When you did this, right.
So see, because I don't know everything you've
About
done,
me, right?
It's easy for me because all I see is the good in you. Okay?
That's right.
You might be a terror behind closed doors.
Right. You don't
I
even know
see
that. Right.
Okay, so all
Exactly.
I see is the good. So when I say to you, Keith, I know God got you. I know that, but see, I know you.
Right.
Okay?
So you know the things
I
you've
know all
done.
my little dark
Right.
secrets that
Very
nobody
good.
else may know.
Very good.
So that's why it is hard for us. That's why, let me tell you, God's back to Him being so great. He don't tell us you got to have faith the size of a house.
Right.
He says a mustard seed.
A little bit. If you ever seen one, I had to
a
admit
mustard
it,
seed is
but
so
it's very
tiny, it
small.
probably can almost fit inside my fingernail.
Right.
Okay, that's tiny,
enough.
That's enough. And He's saying that's all we need. But we as flesh, we always want to do it ourselves. We're just like the men in the ocean. We looking for this poof effect. So after I done did all of this, okay, I can't figure out, okay, why I'm still scared at night.
Right.
Why am I still going through this? Why can't I just go to sleep? Why am I hearing things? Why am I jumping? Why am I still going through all this?
Right.
I've done the doctor. I've done
everything I was supposed to do.
That's right.
I did it.
I've done this. But yet and still in the midst of all of this, I had not, even though I went to the altar many times, I was going to the altar. This is my trouble. I was going to the altar, leaving it there. And I would go and sit in my seat. Well, it's just still sitting there.
Right.
Okay, well, I better go ahead and just pick it back up.
Right.
I mean,
right, it's right there in
it's
front
still
of me.
right there.
Right.
He has not taken it.
Right. So I'm getting
it's
it
not
back.
gone.
Right.
So the Lord
It's
must
mine.
be for me to carry.
Right.
It is mine. That's it. Okay. So now after He has said all this to me, now this is when, because with faith, and I don't mean fear of God.
Right.
I mean fear
Faith.
of whether I'm going to heaven or hell if I die.
Right.
I'm standing at that door.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
When I got home that night, because not one time, like I said, I made that pastor look like he didn't have a clue what he was talking about.
Right.
I went home, and when I got home that night, I put my daughter in the bed, and I was looking at her. I had prayer with her, and I went and I got in the bed, and all of a sudden, this great sense of fear came. Oh, my Lord, if I die tonight, will I go to heaven? Will I go to hell? Will my living be in vain?
Things you didn't think
That's
about
right.
before.
Exactly.
Right.
The things that wasn't bothering me before,
Right.
because this was the Lord. This was Him and His supernatural right there.
Right.
He said
Right.
all I had to do was praise Him. But now my pride has stepped in.
Right.
Because now you just done exposed me to all these people. So even though I got a mask on, but now my mask is crooked and people can see.
They can see some of it.
They can see something.
Right. Something ain't right.
Because we know this man here. Now I get into a fear. I could not sleep. But that night I prayed, and I finally said to the Lord, I said, if you will give me life,
You open up.
Let me go back to this church tomorrow night. I said, because I made this man look like he was a liar. So some people who believe in him
are skeptical now, or maybe,
exactly.
or maybe
so,
because it's like
because some people know me too.
Right.
Okay, because there's people that knew me. So now it's people like, well, I think if that was true, Yo-Yo would have praised.
Right.
Yo-Yo would have.
Right. So something's not right.
So now I'm finna call some people to maybe miss heaven.
Right. Because you lie.
That's right. Because I'm actually lying.
Right. Right.
I'm lying without saying it.
Right.
Okay. So I said to the Lord, I said, if you will give me the opportunity
to
go back to that church and tell those people this is a man of God. Everything he spoke last night was
the truth. Right.
So I went to work that day. I worked in the salon. All of a sudden, nobody on my book. Now I got all these people trying to come. But I'm going to get there. I don't care if I got to go late.
Now you got a
That's right.
place full of people, the devil again.
That's right. Yeah, because he did not want me. Because
go
first
back.
of all,
Right.
the devil knew that was my healing right there. Then he knew there were some other people in that place who was going through some things.
And they needed it.
They needed this. They needed to believe in the Christ in this man.
Exactly.
Okay?
Right.
So now, all of a sudden, this husband that never goes to church, and especially at night, all of a sudden he comes and I'll go.
Wow.
Because see, now with our relationship, I don't really talk about anything, especially not in public.
Right.
So now he says, I'm going to go to church with you tonight.
Wow.
I can't tell him he can't go.
Right.
So now it's late. And I said, well, it's late. You still want to go? He go, I said, maybe I'll just run up and go because I just want to. No, I'll go.
Wow.
So we got there. The church is even more packed than it was last night. Now fear sets in again. The devil said, you're going to sit up there and tell them people that you're crazy, that you're going to commit suicide. Now he is talking. He is talking. But I'm telling you, and on the other side, I was saying, God, if you just give me the strength.
Right. That's all I need.
That's all I need. I'm sitting there. My husband's sitting there. My daughter's sitting there. My sister's there again. She's at that front. So now we're so late getting there. They don't went through what they call devotional service. They had their songs, their prayers, testimonies. Now they're closing it out. They done took up their offering. They're closing it out.
Right. Another way out.
Another way out. and the devil said, now how you going to do this now?
Right.
You're going to make a spectacle of yourself
now?
Exactly.
Right.
So they're singing their last song, and then the pastor is coming up. They sing the song, everybody sit down. Not me. I'm standing up, and I'm all the way to the back. And the man is up actually talking, and I'm still standing up. The lady who took Toy's hand out of my hand, she got up and said, Pastor, that lady back there must have something to say. So he stopped me. He says, do you have something to say? And let me tell you, this is God. I just remember I started from the back. I was standing back there talking.
You blacked out.
I started telling them, I said, everything he said last night was the truth.
Wow.
I said, I'd written 2 letters. And I went into that spiel. Now, mind you, my husband's sitting there, he's looking at me.
He don't know.
He don't know.
And your sister up front.
That's right. Nobody knows.
Right.
But see, my sister at the time, she
knew.
She knew something was going on. But my husband, he was looking at me like, I know you're not telling these people. You was going to commit. Right. And I said I had written the letters. I was going to take my life. And I told him how. And I said, I got home last night. And this was the last thing I remember saying. I got home last night and I had fear that I was going to die and go to hell. And I went into a crazy praise. And my sister always laughed at me because I don't have a shout, right?
You got a different thing.
Yeah, I don't shout. You know how your sister, we call her the bunny hop because she don't really have a shout.
Something. Right.
So I have something similar to that, but it's not even as cute as your sister's, okay? So when I know anything, my sister told me later, she said, all I know is, girl, she said, you bunny hopped your way. She said, all the way from the front. Right. She said, and you was praising all the way from the back, all the way to the front. Right. And when I came to myself, when I tell you, I knew I was done. Right. I knew the Lord had healed my body, healed my mind. I went home that night. My husband had a little attitude. I said, I'm sorry. I said,
but this is bigger than you.
That's right. This ain't even about me.
This is bigger. It ain't got nothing to do with that.
Right. I told him, I said, but I'm free. That night, every time I woke up that night, I was singing from one song to another, and it was all songs of praise. And from that time on, I was sleeping at night. And I won't tell you that every now and then things don't.
Always.
That's right. I ain't gonna tell you the devil don't throw a dart. Right. Every now and then I would go back into a fear. Right. I'm up. I'm listening. Right. Toy was 4 years old when that happened to me. We started sleeping with the TV on in our bedroom. Something we didn't used to do.
Right, right.
When you got sleepy, you turned your TV on.
Right, right.
Today, 2016, I still sleep with the TV,
With the TV on. Right.
And there are times, like my husband is used to sleeping in the dark. There are times I'll turn it off and I can sleep, but I'm cautious to listen outside.
What you're hearing. Right, right.
It's not such a fear because there are times I'm home by myself at night and I go to bed. One time I wouldn't go to bed.
Right.
I was going to sit in that
So it's gradually getting better.
Oh yeah,
but it's a process.
Right, it's a process.
It's a process.
And what it does is, I know I'm healed.
Right.
Okay?
It's just you.
Right. It's just the human in me.
Right.
And the devil doing his thing.
And he's going to do it.
That's right. And I can guarantee you, after me doing this right here, right? I can guarantee you, he's going to try to throw
something
some
else.
darts.
Something else. And I got to
right.
say it because I tell people we teach Jesus correct, and most pastors do. But I just told a buddy of mine the other day, I said, when Jesus was tried on the mount, if you read the whole thing, it said, and the devil left him for a time.
That's right.
Which means he's coming back.
That's right.
I ain't done with you yet.
I'm not through.
But you beat me this time.
Exactly.
Now this is Christ.
That's right. Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying?
That's
and the
right.
devil said, I ain't going to give up trying to get this guy.
That's right. Exactly.
So I always want the young people to know that, I mean, as older people, boy, we mess up a lot.
Oh my gosh, yes.
All three cameras. Y'all just don't know. And we know we mess up. Yeah.
That's right.
And we want to help.
That's right. Yes.
And stuff like this, as I said it in the beginning, years and years ago, this is my trying to correct a lot of the mistakes
that we made. That's right.
Because we are guilty.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And so in doing this, Christ was right there.
That's right.
But he was tested all the time.
That's right, exactly.
So they're going to be tested all the time. Because it's like saying, yes, ma'am, and then going and doing something opposite of what you said you were going to do.
That's right.
You're not the worst person in the world.
No, oh my God, you're not.
The devil just wants you bad.
That's right. He want to make
There's something about you.
That's right. Nobody can love you.
Right.
Look at all the stuff you've done.
Look at what you've done.
You wear your pants down.
Right. You did all the wrong things.
All of that.
Right.
But I guarantee you, you got more people pulling for you.
Right.
More people loving you.
And they'll show up.
Most of all, you got God that loves you. He still stands just like this right here.
They'll show up.
That's right.
And so that is my admiration of you.
Thank you.
And what you went through and how you were able to tell. Because I got to be honest, I always fish people. And when I ask one question, I look for the response. Then I ask a deeper question. And then I look for the response. And depending on the way the person responds, I'm like, oh, they ain't going to be real by now. They lying to themselves. But when you were honest with me last night, I told the wife, I said, I got to get her, man. Because what she's been through is too important.
Yeah, it is.
You understand what I'm saying? And there's a lot of things I haven't even been honest about. And I do this.
Right, exactly.
But I want to be honest about it. You know what I'm saying? Because it can help somebody.
It can.
And it'll get there.
That's right.
I feel it. I know it's coming.
That's right.
But in time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You got to you keep saying the process. Everybody's process is different. Your process won't be like mine.
Right.
Mine, let me tell you, the perfect example. And I know a lot of people know, and I won't call her name, but shortly after I was raped, right, there was a series of things going on in Manning where a young man was going around.
Right, remember.
Okay,
yes.
And there was a young lady that's family of mine. She got raped.
Right.
And and not only did she get raped, she lost an important part of her body.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And she bounced back. Boom. Just like that. I found out she went back and was living in that house again.
Wow.
By herself.
I remember.
Okay? And so that's what the devil used, because I couldn't understand what God.
How she did it.
How she did this. Right. I didn't lose any part of my body. All hands, eyes, ears, feet, legs. I had some bruises. Okay? Which in a few weeks were completely gone. Okay? But here it is. She has something that is still there. She has lost something. But I'm telling you, she bounced right back. Her process was different than mine.
Right.
Because I tell people, the Lord know what we can bear. She may not have been able to stand a long process.
All that you've been through.
That's right.
Right.
She might have went to drinking. She might have actually succeeded at taking her life. It's no telling what could have happened.
Right.
But here it is. The same way Tilly Hampton said to me, why not you?
Why not you?
Young people, when y'all go through things, you gonna, and look here, I tell my son all the time, he has gone down some roads, and I know it's for a reason.
It's for a reason.
And if he will stay the course, and go through the process,
you know.
he'll know the why.
You know.
When she asked me why not you, now I know why it was me.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
I know now why it wasn't the little lady down the road.
Right.
Or the girl
Because they
next door.
couldn't handle it.
They could not have handled it. And it wasn't, everybody have their own lanes. This was my lane.
That's yours.
Because I tell people all the time, I told you, I think I said to y'all last night, I used to watch movies. Why didn't you do, I mean,
Yeah, all that stuff.
The bat is right there.
Yeah, twist them over, throw them over, do the eyes and the
If
ball.
that was
all
me,
right, I've
this is
done all
what
of that.
I would do. But let me tell you, this is why I tell people, I don't even want to be y'all teenagers today.
They're going through it.
Y'all go through. Y'all life is different than ours.
Right.
But what I can tell you is the same God that was, when I was a teenager, he's the same God now.
Yeah.
He still
He's
will
revealing
help
more.
you.
He's coming stronger
right.
because the devil is strong.
Yes.
He's revealing more.
Yes. To me, these kids here, when I look at the things they're going through, some of these kids are almost like back in the Martin Luther King days. Okay? They're just not doing it the way Martin Luther King did.
Right.
Okay? But what I will say is y'all have to learn to stick together and know that y'all are just as valuable and just as important as your counterparts, other races,
be genuine,
other genders.
be patient.
That's right. Just
be
who you are.
Right.
Okay? And be real with people. Ask for the help.
That's the key.
That's it.
When you do not ask, the scripture says that as well. We have not
because we ask not.
Because we don't ask. And it's the way you ask.
That's right.
And how you expect to receive it.
Exactly.
Right. Because we want that proof again.
Right there.
But it's the process. You have to go through it.
You might have to work for it.
And you might have to work for it. And then you might have to realize that I've done everything I can. This is not for me. Even though I wanted it.
Exactly.
You understand what I mean? I must be going the wrong way because I've done all this stuff.
That's right. That's right.
Let me look and see.
Exactly. That's exactly.
And go back to God again. Now, God, I did A, I did B.
Do your checklist.
You know what I mean?
The Bible tells us to remind
you got to react. I did it all.
It's okay for us to remind him.
In the proper way.
That's right. Let me tell you, my kids will always say to me, I came from a family, a huge family. My parents were great, great parents. Thank God my mother is still living. But now my daddy was different from my mother. We could almost go to him and talk to him about anything. But my mother was brought up a lot stricter.
Right.
In
I know exactly what you mean.
Children are seen,
not
never heard.
Right. Don't tell me that. I don't want to hear
that. That's right. You don't say nothing against another adult.
Right.
You hush your mouth. See,
right or wrong.
Okay, right or wrong. Because I tell people, and I tell my son all the time, I'm an adult, but there are times I am completely wrong. Okay?
That's excellent.
I am wrong, and I have to apologize to my kids.
That's
okay, but because the way I was brought up, with my dad we could talk, but sometimes we wouldn't talk because my mother would be there, and she didn't allow. Like we couldn't go to her freely. We couldn't go to them about sex.
Right.
So we learned a lot of things.
We learned, we
other people.
trial and error sometimes. Right. They were completely wrong.
Right. Like I remember birth control. I took birth control when I was about 14 or 15. I wasn't having sex, but friends said it would lighten your period. Okay.
I remember that.
Because you running so heavy, and it really did. It cut your days.
Right.
It lightened it.
Like, okay.
So I did that. But now my mother was brought up
that
birth control pills was a drug.
Right.
Okay, so I'll never forget this. I'm in the bed, 2 o'clock in the morning. One of my older sisters from Miami was here. She was pregnant. She came up here, and we were in the bed, and my mom comes in there and yo, get up. Yo. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, Mama, what's the matter? I want you to come out here and tell your dad what kind of drugs you on.
What?
I'm like, oh my Lord. I said, Mama, I ain't on no drugs. I said, yes, you are. Come tell your daddy. Not knowing she has been in my purse.
And saw them.
And she has taken the pack of pills out.
Right.
So I go in the room. My dad is sitting there. He's looking like, oh Lord. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I really want to be asleep.
Right.
So I'm sitting there. He's like, yo, just tell me, you on drugs? No, sir, Daddy. Yo, just tell the truth. No, sir, Daddy. And she just, yes, you are. Don't come in here with the line. Mom, I'm not lying. What drugs do I take? I don't smoke weed. You know, I don't drink. I'm just going through this list of what I'm considering as drugs.
As a drug.
And all of a sudden, she comes out, boy, like she was mad.
I got you.
Damn. And it is my birth control. I said, that's not drugs. I said, that's medicine. I said, it's birth control. These are drugs. I said, Mama, they're not.
Right.
So then my dad looked at me, he said, you having sex? No, sir. Well, why are you taking them? And when I told him, he was like, oh. But she's like, you need to beat her. I said, she's on drugs. So, I mean, and normally if she says beat them,
you get a beat.
We got to beat, because his thing was, and he would say to us, I can't beat your mama.
Right. So I got to beat y'all. Right.
Okay, so She went on and finally he said, Mom, he said, I ain't gonna beat her about no birth control. He said, just talk to her, tell her why you don't think she should be on birth control.
Right.
He said, he said, if medically things going on that you need help, he said, then say something and let us get you to a doctor. Yada, yada, yada. So I go back to bed and when I go in there, my sister, she said, yo, you taking drugs? I said, no, I ain't taking no drugs. I said, you know what it is? She said, what? I said, birth control. She said, shut up. Now, she think she's in the bathroom, she flushing pills, right?
Right.
Me and my sister and then we rolling, because you remember back in the day,
you went to the
healthy department, they gave you enough for a year.
That's right.
Okay?
They all
under my mattress. I lift up the mattress. I pull out another. I said, what's she doing?
Right.
So my sister said, well, give them to me. I'll put them in my suitcase. That way she won't find them.
Right.
But it comes back to the thing of my mother, and from her teenage years,
right.
Birth control was a drug.
Right.
Okay? It caused all kind of issues. Okay? Now, when my children started coming up, I wanted my children to be able to come to me and talk to me. So I say to them, y'all can come to me and y'all can say anything, y'all can talk to me about anything, but it's how you do it.
It's how you
You're not going to come to me screaming and hollering and yelling.
Right, your way is the right way.
No, you're going to come to me
Let's talk.
respectfully and say, Mama, can we talk?
Right, let's talk.
And then when you talk to me, you're going to talk to me like I'm the mama.
Right,
You're the child.
We're not friends, we're not buddies.
Friends.
Right.
Okay, and then when I tell you what I think thus is so, then you're not, all right, no, you're not going to come at me. Then you're going to tell me why you think.
Right. Let's really talk.
Right. We're going to really
what's
open
lacking.
up.
Right.
And I'm so grateful because my daughter, and I'll say this, she is 29 years old and still a virgin.
That's good.
Bless the Lord. I tell her,
bless him indeed.
What did you do? I did absolutely nothing.
Right.
Because
I can't take credit.
That's right. I can't take any credit for that. But it is me teaching them about God.
Right.
And it is her deciding at a very young age to take that walk with the Lord.
Right.
Now, my son is completely different. He's more like his mom.
Right.
He loved the world. He loved being out there. I used to love clubbing, drinking a little
just
bit.
Feel right. This is where I'm supposed to be.
This was who I...
For right now.
But what I went through was for a reason.
Right.
So what he's going through...
For a reason.
It is for a reason.
Right.
The walk my daughter is taking, hers is for a reason.
Right.
Because now she tell young girls, yes, you can.
You can do it.
You can do it in this day and age. You can still be a virgin and wait on the Lord to send your husband.
Because 10, 11, 12, 13, they didn't have more sex parties.
Yes, oh my Lord.
Than the average.
They doing stuff that I'm still scared to do. And if I'm going to do it, I ain't going to tell
nobody.
But they tell everybody.
I did that.
I did more than you.
Right.
Oh my Lord.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
So that is our young people. And for those who are have not been tuned in, we're talking to Miss Yolanda. And she's a victims advocate of Manning, South Carolina, for those victims of rape. And we've gone into, this is going to probably be a 2-part series where I play on Facebook. Y'all are still there, and that's good. I didn't think they'd let it play that long. I don't know what it looks like. You saw it? It streamed pretty good? Good. So that was pretty good. And this is something that I think needed to be put out. And I told Miss Yolanda, when we start talking, we're not going to shut up until we're done. Whatever the subject comes on, I just honestly believe that someone needs to hear it.
That's exactly.
And as much as it may seem like rambling, because usually I can go by myself for about 3 hours.
Right, me too.
And I talk on YouTube, Facebook, it's 3 hours. And I'm like, wow, it's 3 hours.
Exactly.
My suggestion is always listen to a little bit.
That's right.
Turn it off.
That's right.
Come back and listen to a little bit more. We have to learn patience.
That's right.
Because in things like this is the answer to questions. And while I'm concerned and we are concerned about the world as a whole, we are concerned about family, home, and this community.
That's right.
Because this is a damaged place.
Yes, it is.
And most people are afraid to say we have trouble.
That's right.
But we have a lot of trouble.
Yes, we do.
And as you were saying earlier, I see a lot of young people hide.
Yes, right.
My youngest son went through a lot of mental issues. And I took him to psychiatrists, took him to and talked to teachers. I did everything I thought I should do. But in the end, he went the way he wanted to go.
That's right.
But I am comfortable.
Exactly.
Because I did all by God's permission I could do. And would do it again.
That's right. Exactly.
And I didn't hide.
That's right. No.
You understand? It wasn't something I was hiding to take him here and get in the car and go here.
That's right.
I was asking people what to do.
Exactly.
What am I supposed to do?
Exactly.
You know, I didn't get the answers like with you. You became a victim's advocate because a lot of the answers you needed
We're not there.
We're not there.
That's right.
So I felt totally alone.
Exactly. Right.
You know what I mean? When I was going through it. And I felt like I was to blame.
Exactly.
And I still apologize to him.
Right.
It's like, man, maybe if I had done this and this and been a better example. But no, it was meant to be.
That's right.
You know, and
it's his road.
It's his road.
It's a reason.
Right. Because all of them are smart and
Exactly.
all of our children are. And we have to help them. So this is Brother Johnny, the 19 report, but this is the community of concerned citizens and our great, great concern for something Miss Yolanda said about her mother that's just the God's honest truth. They hide things.
Yes.
And we do come to you.
Right. Yes.
And we do try to talk to you, but I don't want to hear that.
That's right. Exactly.
And Oprah Winfrey, always, because she was raped, Oprah Winfrey, you can like her, don't like her.
That's right.
There are parts of people that I don't like.
Right, exactly.
But when she puts together a movie or a television show, she has this show on OWN called Greenleaf. I don't watch it all the time.
I watch it, yeah.
But there was a little girl who was raped by her uncle, and she was trying to tell him.
That's right. Nobody.
But the elders, well, I don't want to hear that.
Exactly.
And she took her life.
She took her life. That's right.
And it wasn't until the father, who's the pastor, found out that he decided, I'm going to shoot this.
Exactly.
I'm going to shoot him. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it was too late. Not only did he molest her, he molested the sister
that's
too.
Right. And he molested other girls.
And other girls.
Other girls.
And
that's right.
took them to different places and made them feel the love that they didn't feel.
That's right.
And he molested them.
That's right.
And they were so afraid that one girl came up and said, yeah, he did it.
That's right.
Then she retracted
That's
it.
right.
No, he didn't do it.
That's right.
That's what we're dealing with here.
Exactly.
With boys and with girls.
And with girls. That's right.
Sick, because sex is in the air. This is a sex-crazed society that we live in. And it's not by mistake.
That's right.
Now, what's in the dark comes to the light.
That's right. Yes.
So we had the little magazines and we hide them.
Yes.
And then the children find them.
That's right.
And they reading the stuff, and because I did every generation,
more and more.
And it build and build until what is in the dark, as the scripture says, is there. It's no mistake that the music is the way it is. I remember a song that I used to love, Me and Mrs. Jones.
That's right.
And I used to sing that song.
That's right.
And it ain't till this day I realized he was talking about you cheating on it.
Exactly.
You know?
That's
and I'm
right.
like, wait a minute.
Exactly.
I perpetuated that.
That's exactly right.
If loving you is wrong, I don't want to be right. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it was there.
Exactly right. That's
now, as parents, we got to deal with it.
Yes, we do.
And some of us are saying, you know what? We're going to gird up our loins.
That's right.
We're going to put on our armor, and we're going to deal with it.
That's right. That's right.
While others are saying, I don't want to deal with it.
Well,
we're going to deal with it. And I thank you so very much for coming on today.
Thank you.
And is there a number that if someone needed to, that they can call you?
The number where you can reach me, I'm going to give you two. I'm going to give you my job number first, which is 803-460-3671. And that is the phone. I may answer it, Clarendon County Sheriff's Office. Do not hang up. It's me. Okay? Now, another number is my cell number. And I give this and I tell people you can call me at any time if you need help. 803-565-1327. I'm always available. Yes.
That I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you taking the time out to do it.
I'm glad.
And I'm grateful, honestly, to God that we ran into each other last night. Because I said, I'm asking something. Right. I said, no, I ain't going to ask. I said, I'm going to ask. And I asked, and you responded to it.
The door.
So I appreciate that. And probably within a few months or so, after some people call me and ask some questions, maybe you can call in and answer the questions for them. You won't have to come in, but we'll do it on the radio portion of the show. So I thank you again for coming in again. This is Brother Johnny and Miss Yolanda of Victims Advocates of Manning, South Carolina. This is the community of concerned citizens. Sincerely thanking everyone. Yes, do you have any last words? Anything you would like to say to anyone that may be going through something? It doesn't even have to be rape, just as severe as that. Because young people make things severe in their mind.
Yes, that's right.
And I was telling a young man on yesterday that he was a minister. And he was a good minister. He was on the radio in Sumter, and they allowed him in the school system with troubled children in King Street. But the upper echelon of ministers treated him so bad. And I said, bro, you're suffering from post-traumatic stress.
That's right.
I said, you've been spiritually raped
That's
by
right.
the people you trusted.
Exactly.
Because you did everything they said to do.
That's right. Where's hurt?
They call that church hurt, I think.
Church hurt.
And I said, that's what you're going through.
That's right.
I said, you can't feel bad about it.
No.
You have to embrace it and understand.
Exactly.
So for anyone that's going through something, any last words that you would have for
I will say, if it's big to you, it's big to God. You know, what I went through, some people would be like, wow. But I always tell people, what you're going through is still wow.
Right.
Okay, so it does not matter. If it's important to you, if it's big to you, seek help.
Right.
Don't worry about whether society says it's important or not. If it's important to you, it's important to some of us. We're here to help you. Don't sit and try to do it by yourself because you can't. God put people in intricate places.
That's right.
Just for you.
That's right.
But you have to be the one to go and get the help. If I leave $100 on this table and nobody use it, that money is just going to sit there. It is no good.
That's right.
So if God put, for this show to be here, He's putting Johnny in place. I call him Keith. In place.
That's
okay?
Right.
To help you. And I know that whatever he don't know himself, he'll get you the help.
That's right.
But accept the help. Because I'm telling you, it may not, the help don't always come from our families. The help don't always come from people that we know on a personal basis. Okay? And it won't even sometimes come from the friends that we have. And it don't mean that they don't love you.
Right.
They just don't know how to help you. So sometimes you have to step out of your comfort zone. Okay? And tell what is really going on. That's right. Take off the mask.
That's right.
Okay? And just know whatever the situation, whatever road you're on, might be a little dirt road. And I'm talking about a little dirt road of life. It might be 95. Might be huge. Whatever it is, it all comes to the same stop.
That's right.
Which is God.
That's right.
But unless you call on Him, He's just, I tell people, I use the example, I can know that my children need something and sometimes I'll freely give it. Okay? But sometimes I won't say a thing, I won't do a thing until they come to me to ask. Because that shows that you're growing and that you're humble.
That's
You got to be humble. You can't, pride comes right before destruction.
Right. You don't know everything.
That's right. None of us do.
That's right.
I will be 52 in December. I don't know everything.
That's right.
But I do know God is still sovereign in this day and time.
Right.
He still have people, angels, walking this earth.
Right. Absolutely.
For times such as this. You're not in a time that there is no hope. I heard a young man say, he has no hope. There is hope.
There's hope.
Okay? So reach out, get the hope.
Right.
Don't take this show for granted.
Right.
It's all for a reason.
Excellent.
Love you.
Thank you so very much. Again, we will be back on next week with another show. Not next week, the week after next with another show. But we want to run this for at least 2 weeks. Over and over again. So for everybody on Facebook, when I post it up, share it.
Yes.
Share it, share it, share it. Even if it doesn't affect you, I guarantee you it affects someone. And it may be the person right next to you and you don't even know it. So this opens the door to a lot of things. And we thank God for this. I thank God for Miss Yolanda. And ironically enough, it sounds so horrible, but for what she went through, somebody had to do it.
Exactly.
And someone had to go through the slavery to be, someone had to go through all of that for us to appreciate.
Exactly. That's right.
So she's one of the chosen, one of the warriors of the time. And many of you are as well.
That's right.
But if you fall in the trap of thinking you don't matter,
that's right.
That's where the whole process has to go over again in someone else. And another person got to go through all of that when it wasn't necessary.
That's right.
So thank you all for tuning in again. This is Brother Johnny, the 19 Report in the Community of Concerned Citizens. And we are gone.